Coming up on Arirang News, Israel agrees to implement humanitarian pauses for 4 hours every day starting Thursday to help civilians escape the fighting in Gaza. But the war between Israel and Hamas rages on with the biggest hospital complex in Gaza at risk. Scientists say the year of 2023 is likely to be the warmest year in Earth's history, with deadly heat waves, floods, and wildfires, and the hottest October on record globally. South Korea's International Booker Prize-winning author Kang wins a prestigious French Prix Médicis award for foreign literature, with her novel I Do Not Bid Farewell being the first Korean author to win the award. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We begin in the Middle East with the Israel-Hamas war. The U.S. says Israel agrees to a humanitarian pause of military operations for 4 hours each day to help people flee the fighting. It added that Israel will also open a second corridor. But amid the intensifying war, the Israel Defense Forces operations put Gaza's biggest hospital complex at risk. Yoon leads us off.
The White House said Israel has agreed to make daily 4-hour humanitarian pauses in its wartime operations in northern Gaza to enable innocent civilians to find safer locations starting on Thursday local time. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said Israel makes its own decisions, not the U.S., and there will be no military operations in the region during the pause. Each day, the Israeli military will announce its 4-hour pause at least 3 hours in advance, indicating where and when. Kirby noted that Israel will also open a second corridor for civilians heading south, a coastal road connecting to Gaza's main north-south highway. According to an Israeli official on Thursday, after a first corridor was opened several times this week, more than 80,000 people used it to flee northern Gaza. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that this was not a ceasefire in Gaza, adding this could only come with the release of all hostages taken by Hamas.
There will be no ceasefire without the release of our hostages. Anything else is futile.
On the same day, Israel Defense Forces spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari uploaded a post on social media saying ground operations were ongoing in the military quarter, the main base of Hamas inside Gaza City. The IDF added that an infantry brigade and armored units entered the zone to destroy Hamas facilities, killing around 50 Hamas members. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said the IDF had developed new ways to enter or destroy tunnels without harming hostages, and that the fighting would not be stopped until all the hostages were rescued safely. Israel's military has alleged that Hamas operates a command center at the site of the Dar Al-Shifa Hospital, which includes entrances to its extensive tunnel network, something Hamas and hospital officials have denied. The Director General of Dar Al-Shifa said that everyone in the hospital, including medics and patients, were in a state of fear because of the constant explosions happening near the facility. According to a report by Al Jazeera, Hamas said an Israeli strike hit the hospital, killing 13 people. Verified by Reuters, graphic videos shared on social media showed several dead and wounded people in an area of the hospital, which a Gaza Health Ministry spokesman said had been hit by Israeli airstrikes. Another children's hospital is reported to be surrounded by Israeli tanks. Yoon, Arirang News.
South Korea has decided to provide $300,000 worth of humanitarian aid to Nepal following last week's deadly earthquake. Announcing the plan, Seoul's foreign ministry said Friday that the government hopes to support the people of Nepal who have suffered damage from the earthquake and help them quickly resettle. At least 150 people have been killed and over 300 injured after a 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck remote western Nepal last Friday. Leaders of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation are heading to San Francisco to attend this year's event that begins this weekend. What's grabbing attention is a meeting between President Joe Biden and his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping. Our Choi Min-jung covers the broader agenda ahead.
The 2023 Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, or APEC, kicks off on Saturday in San Francisco. This year's event is hosted by U.S. President Joe Biden under the theme, Creating a Resilient and Sustainable Future for All. World leaders from 21 member economies, including South Korea, Japan, and possibly China, are expected to take part, although Russia, currently engaged in war with Ukraine, will reportedly not attend. With leaders set to hold discussions next week, all eyes are on whether the leaders of the U.S. and China will hold their own summit talks. Presidents Joe Biden and Xi Jinping last met each other on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Bali last year. Pundits are hinting at possible signs of improvement to thorny relations caused by trade disputes and an alleged Chinese spy balloon that passed over the U.S. early this year. The meeting between the leaders would follow Washington's recent push to stabilize tense ties, including a series of cabinet-level meetings. Ahead of the APEC summit, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen met with Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng on Thursday to limit the economic fallout caused by tensions between Washington and Beijing. Yellen said she seeks open and substantive discussions with China and a healthy economic relationship that benefits both countries over time.
As I've said, the United States has no desire to decouple from China. A full separation of our economies would be economically disastrous for both of our countries and for the world.
Her Chinese counterpart in response said Beijing is also seeking effective measures to improve their economic and trade relations. Meanwhile, also taking place next week is the APEC CEO Summit, bringing CEOs and entrepreneurs together for dialogue on global opportunities and challenges that are shaping economic, environmental, and societal trends in the region. The 21 member economies are home to around 3 billion people and represent approximately 62% of world GDP and half of the world's trade. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
In efforts to revitalize South Korea's agricultural industry, President Yoon Suk-yeol vows to transform the industry into a high-paying occupation through digitalization and the use of artificial intelligence. The president attended a Farmers' Day ceremony on Friday, a day that is normally celebrated on November 11th. There he said Middle Eastern countries have been trying to work with South Korea's smart farm technology and requested that farmers here in the country pay great attention to the technology. He also cited the government's 2024 budget proposal, saying that it's looking to increase the budget for farms in need of support to recover from natural disasters. For 3 months in a row, up to October, there has been a net outflow of foreign investment from South Korea. Data from the Bank of Korea released on Friday shows that offshore investors last month sold around $2.8 billion worth of listed stocks and bonds. This marks the largest net outflow since April of last year. It's also the third consecutive month that foreign investors have been net sellers of Korean stocks. A bank official says foreigners' net stock selling came amid risk aversion triggered by the Israel-Hamas conflict. Following the opposition-controlled National Assembly's approval of contentious bills yesterday, including the pro-labor Yellow Envelope Bill, unionized workers will hold a mass rally this Saturday to demand its swift implementation. In the meantime, the nation's prime minister calls the passage regrettable. Our Lee Si-ho reports.
Around 140,000 unionized workers are expected to come out to the streets this Saturday to demand the swift promulgation and implementation of the so-called Yellow Envelope Bill approved by the opposition-controlled National Assembly on Thursday. The members of the Federation of Korean Trade Unions and the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions will come from around the country to gather in Seoul to hold separate demonstrations. They're demanding President Yoon Suk-yeol to not exercise his right to veto the Democratic Party-led revision to the Trade Union and Labor Relations Adjustment Act approved by the opposition at the Assembly following the ruling People Power Party's walkout. The revision guarantees bargaining rights for indirectly employed workers and prohibits damage lawsuits being brought against striking workers. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo said on Friday that the unilateral passing of contentious bills is regrettable.
It is really frustrating and regrettable that agendas that deepen social conflict that are far from the people's livelihoods are handled without sufficient deliberation. This is unfortunate. The government will collect opinions from all walks of life on the problems and side effects of the bill passed this time and examine in depth the direction for the national interest.
Prime Minister Han further called for the Assembly's support in helping the administration focus on an agenda that deals with the people's livelihoods. Amid the possibility of a presidential veto of the Yellow Envelope Bill, Chief Presidential Secretary Kim Dae-gi said the legislation hasn't yet been transferred to the administration. When this happens, it will consider many opinions, Kim said, responding to DP's related question at the Assembly on Friday. The PPP said on Friday that it will suggest a presidential veto. 이시후, Arirang News.
The two-day warning strike by unionized workers of Seoul Metro protesting the company's downsizing plans ended on Friday at 6 p.m. However, as none of their demands were met, the workers have threatened to go on a full-scale strike shortly. They'll decide when exactly that'll be after about a week, unless there are changes in the positions of the government and the Seoul Metro company. At one point during the strike, the subway was reduced to almost 75% of its usual service, lower than the expected rate, giving commuters a hard time using the metro. The UAE considers South Korea as a partner for economic cooperation, including green industries. This is according to the UAE Economy Minister as he sat down with our correspondent Lee Soo-jin here in Seoul to talk about current and future business opportunities.
The United Arab Emirates sees South Korea's green industries such as agri-tech as viable areas for future cooperation. Talking to Arirang News on Thursday, UAE Minister of Economy Abdullah bin Tuq Al-Mari said that Seoul-Abu Dhabi economic ties have progressed to an unprecedented level. In October, South Korea and the UAE concluded talks to sign a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, a bilateral free trade deal that is Seoul's first with a Middle Eastern nation.
I think on the levels of government to government, all of the agreements has been signed or to be signed and to be ratified. I think it's a time for business to find business opportunities.
What kind of business opportunities and incentives can the UAE provide to South Korean companies looking to enter the market?
So the UAE had a huge change in the economic legislations in the last 2 years. One which was very important is we gave 100% ownership for any company who wants to come in mainland. In the previous legislation, we had the 51 local partner, 49 foreigner partner. We've seen 1,100 Korean companies already established in the UAE, and we're hoping to go see more there.
In a bid to boost global investment, the UAE amended a law to allow foreign entrepreneurs to set up businesses in the UAE without local shareholders' involvement. He said the UAE is interested in doing more business with South Korean companies in green industries as part of efforts to secure a sustainable economic future.
I think the agriculture and food security is a very important one. We launched as well very recently, 2 days ago, our cluster on agri-tech economy, and I think that's an opportunity where we are looking at to work together with Korea.
Minister Al-Mari, during talks with his counterpart at the Ministry of SMEs and Startups on Wednesday, discussed South Korean companies participating in industrial clusters in the UAE. The minister said that in the future, the UAE can also provide South Korean companies with opportunities to scale up and also serve as a gateway for them to enter other markets.
Now, with the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, we signed one with Korea, we signed about 7 and 8 and more coming in the pipeline. These will open opportunities as well to look how to establish in the UAE and utilize the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with other countries to access other markets.
He added that the current economic ties between South Korea and the UAE are like that of brother and sister, and that Seoul has companies with cutting-edge technologies that Abu Dhabi plans to not only partner with but also learn from. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Scientists worldwide say 2023 is said to be the warmest year in recorded history. This is creating a greater sense of urgency for climate action leading up to COP28, which will be held later this month in the United Arab Emirates. Jung Eun-ju has the details.
Climate scientists from the European Union said Wednesday that 2023 is on track to be the planet's warmest year in recorded history. According to the EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service, or C3S, last month was the hottest October on record and 1.7 degrees Celsius warmer than average temperatures for the same month in pre-industrial times. C3S Deputy Director Samantha Burgess described the October temperature anomaly as very extreme.
When we combine our data with the IPCC, then we can say that this is the warmest year for the last 125,000 years.
The heat is a result of greenhouse gas emissions combined with the emergence this year of the El Niño weather pattern, which warms surface water in the eastern Pacific Ocean. According to C3S, the global average temperature from January to October this year was the highest on record. The previous record was 2016, another El Niño year. Climate Central, a non-profit science research group, also reported that the last 12 months were the hottest ever recorded on Earth. Over the course of the year, 7.3 billion people, or 90% of humanity, reportedly endured at least 10 days of high temperatures that were at least 3 times more likely because of climate change. Burgess emphasized the pressing need for urgent and ambitious climate action leading up to the COP28 Climate Summit. COP28 is the 28th annual United Nations climate meeting where governments will discuss how to limit and prepare for future climate change. The summit is being held in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, from November 30th until December 12th. COP28 aims to keep alive the goal of limiting long-term global temperature rises to 1.5 degrees Celsius, which was agreed by nearly 200 countries in Paris in 2015. Additionally, COP28 will concentrate on quickly moving to clean energy sources, decreasing greenhouse gas emissions before 2030, delivering money for climate action from richer to poorer countries, and working on a new deal for developing nations. Jung Eun-ju, Arirang News.
South Korea's International Booker Prize-winning author Kang has won the French Prix Médicis Award this time for foreign literature with her novel I Do Not Bid Farewell. She's the first Korean author to win this award. Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
Famed South Korean author Kang won a prestigious French literary award on Thursday for her 2021 novel I Do Not Bid Farewell. Her novel was chosen as the winner of the Prix Médicis Award for Foreign Literature. The Prix Médicis Award, founded in 1958, is considered one of the top literary awards honoring fictional work in France. In 1970, the foreign literature category was added to award books published in translation. Published 5 years after Han won the International Booker Prize for The Vegetarian, her latest award-winning novel describes the events surrounding the April 3, 1948 incident on South Korea's Jeju Island from the perspective of 3 women. The government of the day suppressed civilian protests against U.S. military rule, leading to the deaths of up to 30,000 people. The French edition of the novel was published in August. Han was shortlisted for the award in October and becomes the first Korean author to have won this award. She was previously nominated for Prix Médicis in 2017 for her 2011 novel Greek Lessons. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In the world of K-pop, we're now used to seeing K-pop groups with members who aren't Korean. But what about other groups that mirror the Korean K-pop style? This trend is being called K-pop 4.0. Our cultural correspondent Song Yu-jin spoke with one such girl group.
Hi, we are Starby. Get ready! 안녕하세요. 저희는 인도네시아에서 온 girl group입니다.
Starby made their debut 4 years ago. However, they came to Korea this August as trainees. They were chosen for the Grow Together project by the Korean Foundation for International Cultural Exchange, which offers emerging overseas artists the opportunity to train in Korea. Over the last 4 months, these girls underwent the rigorous training that K-pop trainees go through, with hours of vocal lessons and dance classes every day.
In Korea, usually they have like a longer time session for the training, and they gave us a lot of time to practice by ourselves. In Indonesia, we always practice with the teacher, so like it's like a different method where Korea makes you like grow and learn from yourself, and it like.
Starby represents the new era in K-pop, dubbed as K-pop 4.0. The initial era involved tailoring Korean artists to match the trends in other countries, such as BoA's success in Japan during the early 2000s. This transitioned into the second stage, integrating non-Korean members into K-pop groups, followed by the third stage, featuring groups entirely comprised of non-Korean members. Now, K-pop is exporting its training system.
The K-pop nurturing system has reached a significant milestone. Entertainment companies have implemented this system for K-pop groups, and witnessing their global success has sparked a growing interest in extending this system internationally.
According to Park Chang-woo, the head of the management agency that trains Starby, this model is pivotal for K-pop's sustained global influence.
Adapting K-pop to suit each country and spreading its training and management system can open up new opportunities for the K-pop industry. Overseas fans will feel a stronger sense of familiarity with the artists too.
Having finished their months-long training, Starby is now going back to Indonesia. Drawing from their experiences in Korea, this is their vision.
We are trying to follow the trend that's happening now, that people like the Korean K-pop groups that have a very unique genre and a very unique concept in itself. But we try to mix it up with our own nationally like Indonesian trends and also Indonesian costume like we wore today.
K-pop's fusion with diverse cultures is one way that could ensure its enduring impact on the global stage. 송유진, Arirang News.
BTS's agency, Big Hit Music, announced on Friday that member Jungkook has set another record with his first solo album, Golden. The album has sold over 2.4 million copies in just 1 week after it was released on November 3rd, setting the highest first-week sales record for a K-pop solo artist. The album consists of 11 tracks, all composed with English lyrics. On Thursday, Jungkook held a surprise concert at TSX Entertainment, an outdoor performance venue in New York City's Times Square, performing several tracks from the album. Jungkook is the second artist to perform at the venue after American artist Post Malone. A couple of concerts are being held here in Seoul this weekend, where the audience can enjoy the beauty of both Korean and Taiwanese traditional music. Musicians from the two countries are putting on traditional music performances dubbed Hwaibudong from this Friday to Saturday at South Korea's National Kugak Center's Yeakdang Hall. The title, Hwaibudong, is an idiom meaning pursuance of harmony while respecting differences. Friday's concert is a joint performance of Korean and Taiwanese artists, and on Saturday, musicians from Taiwanese National Center for Traditional Arts will be on stage performing orchestral music. Friday's joint concert is being hosted for the first time in 4 years since the COVID-19 pandemic.
Make sure to bundle up extra warm for this weekend. Tomorrow, Seoul is forecast to see negative figures for the morning hours with lows of -2 degrees. Due to frigid wind chills, temperatures will feel colder than the actual readings. And cold wave advisories have been issued as of 9 p.m. tonight for eastern parts of the country. In the meantime, gusty winds are expected for the coastlines of Jeollado provinces with strong wind advisories in place. Loose items may be blowing around, so please take extra precautions outside. With those plummeting significantly overnight, frost and ice may appear on the roads. Keep in mind that sensitive vegetation may need to be covered. Tomorrow, Seoul will be starting off at -2 degrees. Daejeon and Chuncheon will be colder at -3. Highs in Seoul will get up to 7 degrees, Gwangju 10, Busan will be topping out at 16 degrees. Until next Monday, morning temperatures will be staying in the negative territory. That's all for now, and to the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for this Friday night newscast. Thank you for watching. Hope everyone has a great weekend and a good night.